Today we bring you a special edition of Slugs of the Week. We only got one slug, and that's the biggest news in the tech industry, the Note 7.
Let's not slug, let's be nice.
The Note 7 saga. This is Joe.
This is Alex.
And this is your Slug of the Week. So, Note 7 is over, done. This week, Samsung announced that they were ending official sales as well as production of the Note 7.
Oh, what's such a short romance.
That concludes the
my
2-month-long, headline-grabbing end to the Galaxy Note 7 incident.
It hurts right in the feels. And you know what hurts more?
What?
I was right. I knew this would be a problem. That incident happened where it was the phone charging. Look back on the old Slugs of the Week. There's a phone charging on the bed while someone's sleeping, catches on fire. Now, luckily, no one died, but they did suffer inhalation burns. So, that was the biggest scare, is somebody dying. And then there was the plane incident. I mean, we don't have to talk about that now, but man, is their brand image salvageable?
Yes.
That's
before
the first
we go into
question.
this whole history, that's the most important question. Can their brand recover? Well, first off, their brand is damaged already.
Yeah, it's definitely damaged.
Now
There's
it's
no denial.
about whether they can recover it to the degree that they enjoyed before this incident, and my answer to that is it remains to be seen.
I mean, in that case, the answer is yes, it's possible, right? But I mean, it's not, they got a long way to go. And there's a lot of facets of this,
Yeah, let's
too.
talk about the Samsung brand first.
The Samsung brand is different in Asia and the US. So in the US, and probably other parts of the West as well, we see Samsung and think of TVs and smartphones, and we think of smartphones as as what brought Samsung out from, kind of, like, people found out about it because of the smartphones, and they competed with the top. They go neck and neck with the iPhone all the time. So we view the iPhone as what brought Samsung to the top. Whether it's true or not is a secondary story, because what matters is the image, and we see like half their brand is damaged
In the consumer
in the West,
side,
in the consumer point of view.
So that's a good thing. Now, we shouldn't talk about Samsung brand. Okay, Samsung has a lot of portfolios, TVs, home appliances.
They're safer in Asia, where everyone knows all of the products, and we do know, like, washing machines and
to some degree, I think this damage won't spread to the other products. Well, a little bit, because the home appliance washing machine exploded, and that was a little news in the nugget.
Difference here being that we expect a washing machine, like, it could happen to a washing machine. We'd be like, oh,
more likely.
that's possible.
Not a happy scenario, but more likely.
Phone, not as much.
Now
What about the phone?
let's go into the sub-brand, Galaxy brand.
Galaxy.
You make a good point, Alex. It's basically what put Samsung in the spot and make them look equal to Apple. I mean, launched in 2010, I think, the first Galaxy S. They've been building this brand in the smartphones for 7 years, and by far, this is the biggest crisis in that brand image history, thanks to this Note 7. The whole Galaxy brand, when anybody approaches it, they'll always think of it back of their mind, wow, can it blow up?
For now. For now. And I think that's the big issue right now. So will other companies take the market share is one of the things we should talk about. Galaxy has the Pixel.
The Google has the Pixel, and Huawei has their phone.
Google has the Pixel,
So you mentioned a good thing, Alex. Now, I said this news got big because the Galaxy brand is big.
It is.
So if I flip that around, actually Samsung has advantage because they've been building this brand for 7-8 years. Now, in terms of scale, no one can match Samsung's scale in the Android camp. I mean, Apple is the only one likely to, take the most advantage of this, because most consumers were, deciding over Note 7 or Galaxy. Now, Huawei and Google, Huawei is big, it's big and it's getting bigger, but it doesn't have the market reach that Samsung does, so they will only take a little bit.
But it might, and I think that's the issue. So maybe in the short run, we can decide that Samsung's safe, but they've got maybe 1 or 2 generations to build back that customer trust.
Yes, and Google Pixel just started, so that's a good point. They only have a short time window.
If you take 4 generations for us to forget about it, if the next generation has another glitch, and the next one has a smaller glitch, it still could be a problem. So. But going back, did they make the right decisions in the recall? And I think that's one issue we should consider too, because it's not just about the image of the phone, it's the image of consumer confidence.
Yes. A brief history of this whole incident. Okay, Samsung decides to launch early the Note 7, 11 days before the Note 5, its predecessor, in early August. Called the best Android phone ever by some reviewers back then. Sales looked good until mid-August, and then boom, near end of August, reports of the phone catching fire starts to appear, and it's not an isolated incident. It happens in Korea and the U.S. and where the phone is available. And then,
they
boom.
recalled it.
Yes.
I think that was a good choice.
And then September, DJ Ko, the president of the mobile business, does announce a total recall. First for a smartphone.
First ever.
Now, not first for a feature phone. Nokia did it before, but that was for batteries too. But in this case, because smartphone batteries, Samsung designed them to be fitted in and can't be replaceable.
It's a big deal.
Yes, they need to do. So that was a good chance for them to actually protect their brand for a while.
And I think that's what all the newspaper articles said. Is like, oh, they care about the consumer's safety. That's their number one issue. Good move on Samsung. But then they were quick to jump back on.
Yes, exactly.
That
Sentiment was favorable back then because in the recall they isolated to a battery incident. So they said they'll fix the battery. They changed the main supplier. And they started sales again after a brief halt, and then they exchanged the old models. But come September, mid-September, end of September, more reports of fire from exchanged phones.
Oh, it's like talking about a bad romance again. Like the breakup, every time you think about how it went wrong, and it went wrong so bad.
So it turns out two things. One is that did they hastily do the recall and
they didn't figure it out. From the consumer point of view, they didn't take the time to figure out what was going to possibly
Samsung
hurt
made
the
it was the
customer.
faulty battery, but it turns out it looks a lot like it's not the cause of the problem.
Or it's a combination of issues. It's something else.
And in the
than just
consumer's eyes,
battery.
that looks like indecisiveness and misinformed.
And it was all profit driven for them. And that's what we see when, as a consumer, it's like, oh, so you were worried about the quick buck. You weren't worried about actually fixing my phone. Most people maybe not worried about the phone like working or not hurting them or not hurting them, but even then, you want it to work when you get it back the second time. It was a bureaucratic nightmare. It was not.
Yes, you mentioned good thing, bureaucratic nightmare. I mean, possibly this is, okay, in Samsung's position here, the Note 7 is the most important product for them in the second half.
What made them make these decisions? How did they end up doing this?
There's just so many at stakes. First of all, like flagship phones, even the iPhone 7 and Note 7, the first month and a half or 2 months is the most important time for them in terms of overall sales. That's when they sell the most. And that's when they make the most profit. Take a fall on money
from our point of view. Take a fall on money, push it back a little bit, make money later.
And second, a lot of people neglect this, but it's not just Samsung with a vested interest in the Note 7. Two partners. One is the supplier end, and another is the telcos or the distributors.
Oh, right.
Because for example, Verizon and AT&T depend on the Galaxy because no one matches that shipment in the Android camp to get more subscribers in the second half of this year.
Yeah.
And they have to prepare their own promotions and allocate the resources to promote the best product that will sell.
So from their point of view, it was like, well, Samsung, are you going to come back out with the phone again, or should we just promote the new iPhone?
Exactly. So they're not happy because now they got to change
pressure
plan.
on Samsung.
Now, secondly, now the supplier end, component supplier, a lot of them depended on Note 7 for their profits for the second half of the year. Now it's all goodbye time because besides the components that they just supplied for the first batches, which they probably get paid for, courtesy of Samsung, but there's no more new products of Note 7 being made, so they're going to scrap all the components that they just made for the Note 7.
Oh, and
that includes
accessories too. The people who make accessories.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of pressure. I'm assuming that means like in the boardroom or in CEO's office, he's just getting phone call after phone call. Yes, no, is it coming or not?
You have to assume for the month of September, I'm just imagining here, but it was intense because not only did they need to sort out their own problems, their own, supply chain management, etc., but they also needed to please their partners. So the damage here is huge. Of course, the consumer one is the most important. Most important, they lost faith in that. Let me add one thing though. Now Samsung has to recover their faith with their partners. Yeah.
That's going to be a big issue. And I guess if we look at the whole picture of this, I'm hesitant to say they're guilty of an act of commission, but in hindsight, they certainly look guilty. But maybe you're right. Maybe we don't know whether or not they made the right decisions based on the information they had, and that may come out later.
Alex.
But I'm sympathetic. This is a sad breakup with the world. Note 7 just went away too quickly. Do they keep the Note 7 brand? Do they not keep the Note brand?
So crucial to Samsung is the most important question is, what was the fundamental cause of this whole disaster?
In order to get consumer confidence again, they have to figure it out.
Yes. They need to reorganize their own structure so that they can effectively find the real cause of the problem, which they haven't found right away.
Not yet,
so they need to reorganize their company, bring back faith with the partners, and then tell the consumer that, okay, this was the problem, we're sorry, we're never going to do it again. And that's the only option here. And then there are a lot of civil lawsuits. I expect civil lawsuits because people got hurt. So like the end of the year, up till the end of the year, it's all going to be damage control. So I would say 2006 will be the most crucial test for Samsung's mobile business. First of all, three things. They got to isolate the cause of this
year,
incident.
2016. Okay.
Yeah, and they got to reorganize their business. And thirdly, and most importantly, they have to show the consumer that this will never happen again.
I think that's a good way to end it.
That's more important than profits.
All right, so that was your special edition of Slugs of the Week. But don't worry, we'll go back to the regular version next time around. We just thought this topic was worthy of a full episode. What do you think about it? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this. This is Alex.
This is Joe.
This was your Slug of the Week. See you next time. It's so sad. I still want the Galaxy.
S8?
I want the 8. I still want it. They got a little bit to prove, but I want it.
It's a shame, yes.